Alright, so you see the title of this video, and it's going to be about why I was terrified of rejection for years. And chances are, if you're watching this, you're also still in that phase where you're terrified of rejection. And that small thing can literally run your life. Let's say my entire childhood to about 22 years old or so, maybe my third year of college, is when I dealt with a massive fear of rejection. There's six basic fears in life, and I can get into the other ones later, but fear of rejection comes from the fear of criticism. The umbrella is the fear of criticism, and that's why you have a fear of being rejected. When it comes to me personally, it was a lot of different categories. I mean, business wise, sales, talking to women, talking to friends, parents, like it just didn't matter. When it came to being rejected, I shied far away from the chance of being rejected, meaning I didn't take many risks. I stayed in that bubble, so I did not have to experience the, I don't know, embarrassing sensation that I felt at that time. This is something that I've dealt with my entire childhood and a good part of my early adulthood, and it literally ran my life. Because when you have the fear of criticism, you live inside a bubble and you don't experience life fully. Now, at that time, I just chalked it up as me being shy. Later, I chalked it up as severe social anxiety because that's pretty much what it plays into. When you're scared of a lot of different social interactions, you're scared of being criticized and embarrassed. It runs your life completely. Throughout schooling before college, I was not myself when it came to talking to anybody outside of family members and very close friends. And I always felt like there was just a piece of me missing because I would interact with, I don't know, a normal guy at school or a teacher at school, somebody outside of school, even just somebody outside of that inner circle, and the personality would not be there. And I would always question and run that interaction back in my head afterwards. I'm like, why did it feel so weird and whatnot? And it was because I stayed in my bubble and I did not branch out and show my personality. Why? I have no idea. This was something I dealt with for about 22 years or so because I started I started questioning everything. I've never dealt with being, let's just say this, and this isn't me bragging or boasting about any accomplishments. From 8 years old to when I retired as a college athlete, I was always a star athlete on whatever team I was on. Played several different sports, and that was never an issue for me. All the accolades, the MVPs, the championships, all those things stacked up, and you can say that added to my popularity throughout schooling, but that didn't matter at all. Academic wise, I always got really good grades. So popularity wise, it was there, but that had nothing to do with the social anxiety, the fear of criticism, the fear of rejection. That overpowered anything that I did in my life. And it really didn't make sense. It never clicked with them, and it sure didn't click with me. Now, once I got to my third year or so of college, I remember it was in the summer and I started questioning just why. Why do I get that tight feeling in my chest? Why do I want to avoid so many social interactions? Why am I scared to do the most simple things? Why can't I be told no, is what it came down to. Me personally, I went on a journey of meditation. I'm not 100% sure how it started. I believe I just came across a YouTube video and the guy talking about meditation. I just tried it out myself and I took it very serious. I meditated at least once a day, at least an hour every single day for several months. And the main, I would say, overarching takeaway from that journey. Now, I did it for years after that, but I'm saying the initial summer, I just did it the entire summer before I started seeing results. And my main takeaway from that was that everything always works out regardless of what circumstance you're in. Now you can be in a unideal circumstance, but when it comes down to it, it's just always going to work out. Now, this opened up a whole nother world for me. With that basic understanding of everything always works out, I did not walk into interactions thinking about the what ifs on the negative from a negative standpoint. I learned that faith and fear is the exact same thing. You use the same amount of energy with faith as you do fear. Now, with fear, you're thinking about a undesirable outcome. And with faith, you're thinking about a desirable outcome. So there's truly no difference. It's just the way you frame your mind. And that may sound basic, it may sound cliche, but if you start to study people around you, maybe very successful people, very outgoing, business minded, or maybe outgoing in their social life, you will see that a lot of these people operate through faith because they realize that things work out in their favor. And then you have the other person who operates through fear and they have like a woe is me attitude. They go into a lot of interactions expecting to not get their way or expecting to be embarrassed or expecting some undesirable outcome. They may call themselves unlucky. Like you have to watch out for those type of people because that is what they attract. And when you expect a unideal circumstance, that's exactly what is going to happen. Now, once I realized that faith was lacking in my everyday life and I started to make every decision with faith in mind and make every decision assuming that things were going to go my way, my entire life just opened up. Now, to this day, I'm still not a extrovert. I would say I'm pretty outgoing. I can be, but I still like to stay to myself and whatnot. But it's not out of fear. It's just out of preference. I'm not going to be the loudest guy in the room or the the life of the party or anything of that sort. But with that being said, funny enough, once I unlocked this in my brain, let's say in college, for example, there were a lot of times where I would be the main person in the room, not the loudest, but you could say life of the party or however you want to frame it. But it was more out of confidence and certainty and just being comfortable in my own skin. And that's where I fall now. I'm very comfortable. I don't really, I don't have an unsettling feeling about normal social interactions or whatnot. This sense of certainty and confidence led to a lot of different ventures that I got into that I would not have in the past. For example, this video, there's no way that I would be, even though I'm just by myself in a room talking to a camera, pretty much talking to myself, there's no way I would have done that. I couldn't even imagine uploading a video with my face on YouTube or any social media. This new attitude led to me trying different business ventures, me branching out from the societal norm when it came to what to do after college, how to carry myself after college. I earned a degree in biology and I earned my master's in business management. And quite frankly, I didn't use either one of those degrees as soon as I graduated. Now, there was no fear attached to that at all. I just decided to start talking to people, start networking. And from when I graduated college and look 5+ years after, I created a business on my own, generated multiple six figures, and not just combined the 5 years. I'm saying my first full year in that business generated over $100,000 and then just went up from there. And that was part of my life that just unlocked. It was more of seeing the goal achieved Alan in my head and playing that part, not being scared of rejection, not being afraid of being criticized. What does that even mean? Like it just doesn't, realizing that that does not affect my life, somebody else criticizing me. In all reality, everybody is worried about themselves and whatnot. Nobody's too worried about you. And I would always hear older people saying that, and just the way older people carry themselves. And I would take note of that because that's one of those things that you want to realize at an early age versus I mean, no offense to older people, but once you're 60, 70, 80, I'm sure that you would have wished that you had that same mindset when you were 20 years old, 30 years old, like really in your physical prime, really when you can feel like you just have the energy to take over the entire world. That's when it's important to have that mindset. And of course, it's still important when you're at an older age, but you want to spend the majority of your life thinking that way versus thinking in fear and whatnot. So it truly can change your life. And in future videos, I'm going to dive in even deeper into specific situations that helped me get out of that mindset, maybe specific situations that you're dealing with now that I've definitely dealt with. I'm telling you, if I can get to where I am now from where I was before, anybody can. There is no special ability that I have that you don't have or anybody else doesn't have. It simply took for me to start questioning why things were the way they were. Why was I thinking the way I was? And, meditating, reading books and whatnot, just making the effort to make that change. A lot of the times when you just start to make the effort, you see doors slowly opening. And it's about getting the edge on yourself every single day and going towards that right direction every single day. Now, I appreciate you watching this video. Hopefully it helps you out. Again, I'm going to dive further into deeper topics, specific topics when it comes to social anxiety and how I got over that hump. And yeah, I appreciate you watching. See you in the next one.